have you ever considered sports broadcasting? And I said, never in my life. And that was the moment my entire life changed and my journey started, because she said, let me help you with an internship with a local station. If you can balance teaching in the morning and the internship at night, you can get a taste for it and see what you think. And I said, why not? What do I have to lose? Right. And I swear, the second day I walked back in there to that internship, I said to myself, if I don't try this right now at 22 years old, I will regret it the rest of my life.
Welcome into episode 5 of STAA's Next Level Sportscasting. I'm Michael Watring, and we are pleased to be joined by a one-woman band in Fox, Nashville, Jill Jelnick. Thanks so much for taking the time, Jill, for this. We'll get into your TV career a little bit, but you were a great softball player in your time, bachelor's degree in English, master's degree in teaching. How did the sportscasting world come about for you?
Great question. First, Michael, thanks so much for having me on. Hello, everyone. Really excited to talk about my passion and also my journey. It is a unique journey, and I'm glad you started there, because growing up playing sports, I never once thought I was going to be a broadcaster. I wanted to be an English teacher and a softball coach, just like my parents. And when I was done playing softball at East Carolina University, I started my master's in teaching, and 4 months in, I immediately missed the sports world. I missed being a part of a team. I felt like I as much as I loved teaching and I was passionate about it, it just wasn't the right time for me. I felt like I was ready to do something more with sports. I had such a positive experience at East Carolina with working with teams and coaches and administration and also the media. So to be honest, I went into my counselor's office, and Trish Thorpe, I'll never forget. And I said, Trish, I don't know if this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now, teaching. And she said, well, let's think about this. You have great communication skills, literacy skills, writing skills. You talk a lot, and you know sports very well. Have you ever considered sports broadcasting? And I said, never in my life. And that was the moment my entire life changed and my journey started, because she said, let me help you with an internship with a local station. If you can balance teaching in the morning and the internship at night, you can get a taste for it and see what you think. And I said, why not? What do I have to lose? Right. And I swear, the second day I walked back in there to that internship, I said to myself, if I don't try this right now at 22 years old, I will regret it the rest of my life. I have nothing to lose right now. So I'm just going to give it a shot. And I fell in love during that internship, worked my butt off there. And as soon as a full-time job opened there, not as a sports reporter, but they had an opening for a full-time editor/producer. And the news director loved me enough and liked me enough. She said, Jill, I know you want to do sports, but let's get your foot in the door. If you become our editor and producer, you can learn the skills you need to, and we'll give you as much sports experience and reps on the side. And I said, done. Where do I sign? And that was my first foot in the door. It was from that internship. It was led to with help from my counselor, and also with me having an open, positive attitude and taking a leap. And I'm so glad I did that 8+ years ago.
How did you maximize the internship opportunity to have that lead to a full-time role?
Extra work, extra hours, extra work, grind, just an absolute grind. I went into the classroom 6:30 a.m., clocked out around 3, went home, got a quick dinner break, went into the station around 6, and was there as long as I could be. I worked weekends, any sports opportunity that the two sports guys couldn't cover. Brian Bailey and Patrick Quinn, credit to them, because they saw something in me, or they knew I cared so much, and they told me whatever I could do to try to get extra reps, be on camera. I'd follow them along. They'd give me those extra on camera reps. I'd put together practice, tracking stories, putting together packages, got my editing skills honed in on those from being a 5:30 editor. I edited the show every single day. And then at night, I helped produce the news. So I had my news judgment in check. I had my sports judgment. I had my on-cam reps. I had my editing reps. And I also learned to pick up a camera and shoot. So I learned everything I needed to in the field. And I think that's one of the things I like to always mention to people. You don't necessarily need to have this big fancy broadcast journalism degree. I mean, it's great, don't get me wrong, but I didn't take a single journalism class. I majored in English, so I know how to write and I know how to cite my sources, and I know how to spell and make a compelling argument. So it is a related field. But my point is, I learned the most during that internship, which eventually led to that first time job.
What do you remember about the first time you were on air?
I felt like I couldn't string together a sentence. For somebody that loves to talk, all of a sudden I was at a loss for words. And, the moment didn't seem too big because having played softball and leading off a softball team, especially in the NCAA tournament, all the eyes are on me, that pressure, that adrenaline. I loved that. That was familiar to me. It was the need to try to be perfect with my words. And the best advice I ever got was from Brian Bailey, who is still the sports director at WNCT. He said, stop memorizing stuff and just talk. And I was like, easier said than done. But the less perfect, the more conversational you could be, the better it comes off. He was absolutely right about that.
I'll ask a broad question because you have had a few different roles in your time. How would you describe what it's like to be in local TV in general?
It's a grind. The word I would not use is glamorous. I would not use glamorous. I would not use easy. I could go on and on about the words I would not use to describe local sports. So anyone that is in the local news or local sports world knows that you have to be asked to do several things. It is not a Erin Andrews' job where all I have to worry about is my on-camera presence or my report. Not that I'm saying at all that her job is easy. It's not. But I wish I could tell you my days were just focused about being on camera. They're not. I tell people 80% of what I do on a regular basis, weekly, daily, monthly, 80% of what I do is off camera. I'm editing shows, I'm producing, I am writing, I am collecting stories, and I am picking up a camera and I'm shooting it. As you can see from my sport collar top, like I have to be ready to roll in the field if I don't get help. And that's because my situation is a little unique here at Fox 17. I am a one-woman sports department. And to my knowledge, Nashville is a top 25 market, and I don't think there is another one-woman sports department in a top 25 market. So it is not normal. It is unique, but it means I have to do a lot of things and wear a lot of hats, and that's tough. The days are tough and long, especially because all I want to do is be on camera and talk and report and tell stories. But I have a lot of other things I have to do on top of that. So a grind. And I would also, describe local being a sports director as a little complicated, right? And to be honest, I think you just really have to love it. You really have to love it, what you do. And fortunately, I still love it. And fortunately, I'm still here. But it is evolving, the local news world and the news industry. And sports is a department that seems to be getting cut and downsized quite a bit. And so it's something to keep in mind long term, for sure.
I want to talk about that because I interned in a TV station, and one of the biggest reasons why I didn't want to be in it is because most often they would come to the sports department and say, hey, we need 30 seconds for weather, or we have a breaking news story, or whatever it may be. But I see a lot of sports, local sports people using social media to be able to enhance those stories, to be able to tell those tales. How have you utilized the social media presence to ensure that some of those stories are getting out there and you're not limited to just that short window of time on TV?
That's an excellent point. I would argue, yes, my sportscast, usually I only get about 2 minutes a night, right? But then I do have other shows, 30-minute high school football show, 30-minute Sunday show. So I have other shows where I'm able to tell those stories. For me, Michael, to be honest, the digital and social media aspect of it is not so much for me to tell more stories, but to reach a different audience. My viewers on local news that watch Fox 17, bless them, love them here in Nashville. They are some of the nicest viewers, but they are moms and they are adults with the average age from 40 to 70. That's my audience. That is the audience that is tuning in at 5:30, 9, and 10. And so when I am doing my sportscast, I'm delivering it to them. When I go to social media, I'm hitting a completely different generation of sports fans. I'm hitting the people that do check their phones for scores, that follow teams on social media, Instagram, Twitter. I am such an avid Twitter because I know that is such a great sports tool to connect and reach sports fans. So to me, it's not social media and digital content is not so much a different outlet. Where I have different content, it's where I can push it on different viewership, audience, different types of fans, and connect with people in a completely different way that I can't connect with the television and linear TV. So it is something I have definitely social media and digital content I have tried really hard to evolve with because I want to evolve with my sports fans too.
Part of the evolution, not just for your job in this industry, is the city that you're in Nashville, the growth that has on, it seems like a month-to-month basis. What's the biggest challenge for you being a one-person department?
Yeah, man, keep picking and choosing my battles. Nashville is a city where we get 100 new people a day moving to the city. And it also means, from a more positive, optimistic perspective, I have 100 new people that I could try to capture and turn into Nashville sports fans. So I do love that the city is growing. The sports scene is growing with it. And I think that's the thing that sometimes gets overlooked. Nashville is a top 20, it's 25, 26 in terms of market size. I think it's a much bigger sports market because we do have the NFL team, the Tennessee Titans, the Predators. We also have MLS team, the Nashville SC, that soccer club. We have AAA Sounds. We also put in a bid for WNBA. We host the SEC men's basketball tournament. We have Vandy and the Vols down the road. It is not slowing down anytime soon. So my biggest challenge with the city is not, oh, what am I going to have in my sports show today? It's, oh man, what do I have time for? I'm going to have to eliminate something. And so I have to pick and choose my battles, especially because I am a one-person department. I can't cover everything physically. So I got to have my pecking order. What's my lead? What's next important? What are we looking ahead to? And I have to make my decisions based off of what my viewers care about the most. And sometimes it's easy. Titans, #1 draft pick, overall draft pick. That's easy sports week when the NFL draft was here. But other days it's not quite as simple. So yeah, the toughest thing for me is picking and choosing my battles and not being able to clone myself. I'm still working on that. It's been difficult.
Well, once you figure that out, you'll have to let the rest of us know.
We'll have another Zoom call. Yeah, I'll fill you in.
Absolutely. You mentioned the 30-minute shows that you put together. I think you did a little bit of that in San Antonio as well. Walk me through your mindset when you're putting together those shows to be able to balance those shows versus the segments that you have during the nightly newscasts. Yeah,
definitely. When you do have more time, those 30-minute shows, whatever it is, whether it was our 30-minute sports show, Sports Night in San Antonio, or Sports Overtime here in Tennessee, you do have to get more creative. But also you have more time that allows you to be more creative. So for example, one-on-one interviews that are maybe a minute 30, 2 minutes long, a Titans locker room post-game interview with Jeffrey Simmons. I want to include the whole thing. I may not be able to have time to do that, plus the Titans highlights, plus coach reaction on a normal newscast, normal Sunday night. But when I have a 30-minute show, I can include those one-on-one interviews. I can include in-depth feature stories. Some of my favorite experiences here in Nashville have not necessarily been games, but the stories I have told. There's a wonderful man here, Jordan Thompson, missing both of his legs, dedicated his entire life to starting a foundation to provide kids with prostheses that are missing limbs. And it was one of my favorite stories we've ever done. It ended up being 6 minutes long. And so that was something that was perfect for the 30-minute sports show. It had its own block. It was perfect. So I do like, it's tough doing those shows. It does require a lot of energy and effort. But the positive is I do get to sneak in those long form pieces and get more creative, which is something we are always striving to do as reporters, as anchors, as hosts, and storytellers.
I want to ask about a day in the life, but I'll ask it from a specific day rather than just give a general overarching. You mentioned Cam Ward being drafted.
Yeah.
Give me the day that he comes to town for the press conference. What's a day in your life look like for that specific day?
Yeah, those are what I call double duty days because I try not to count the hours on those days. I just get ready and you go. But the good news is those days are always so jam packed. You blink and it's like, oh my goodness, how many hours? How long have I been here? The day after the first round of the draft, the Titans flew Cam Ward into Nashville on their private jet. We knew he was coming in. Press conference was set for 1 p.m. So I got into work early just to do some prep, make sure I was ready for the day, talk to the producers, make sure they know that I have a huge sports day and I'd like some more time. And so we kicked it off with a presser. Warren Moon gives him his jersey, allows him to take the number 1 jersey, even though Titans retired it, Oilers retired it. He has his presser. And then we quickly hustle back to the Titans bubble practice facility where we set up a one-on-one interview with Cam Ward. And fortunately, I told News I need a photog, so I need someone to help me shoot this so we can make this a nice sit down interview. And sometimes I have a photog, sometimes I don't, but I told him I'm using my card, I'm using whatever golden ticket I have. This is a big one. And so we sat down with Cam Ward. I had a wonderful 10-minute conversation with him. Then hustled back to the station, quickly turned that 10-minute conversation into a 2-minute interview tease. So for 5:30, I picked my best 2 answers, edited that myself, gave it to 5:30 and said, you can see this full interview tonight at 9 and 10. So we are teasing the late shows. And then right after that, I kept editing and made it an even better package. And we were able to air about 6 minutes of that interview for the late shows. So, but that was all my work. That was all my editing. And so I was there for late till about 11 p.m. that day. But it is one of those days where it goes by quick because it's so fun. Social media is one of those things where, because my first priority is the show, social media sometimes takes a back seat. Luckily, I asked another young woman who loves sports in our digital team. She came with me. She was able to help me take pictures and get up a web article and help us put together a reel. So it's a team effort, right? And I do ask for help. But on a day like that, it's a big one. It's definitely a big one. It goes by quick. But I do love those days. Those are what I would call the fun hustle days.
Sounds jam-packed. There's no doubt about that. I want to ask about developing a reel for TV. Yeah. And I think you brought up 2 good points because, one, you have the nationally known story of a Cam Ward that might attract the generic person's attention, but you might have the great story of Jordan Thompson, I think you said his name was, that you thought was one of your favorite pieces of all time. How do you balance those 2, and what do you look for when you're putting together a reel?
Great question. It's situation specific, right? So it all depends on, are you going after a reporter role? Are you going after an anchor host role? Are you just looking for football, right? Or just football reps? Depending on the job you're trying to get, make sure you cater your reel to that. And then I would also say, if we're talking about local sports, local TV, just give me your best stuff. Yes, the Cam Ward and the sit-down interviews with a big name looks really good. But if you're not asking good questions and you don't look good in it, that's not worth any of your time on that reel. Don't put it in. Put your best stuff first. Keep it tight. I'd say 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes of your best hits in a combination of live hits, combination of anchor hits in the studio, combination of reporting in the field. Save your nice feature story packages on the back end. Either attach it to the end of your 2 minutes of hits, Or don't even include it at all and have the person hiring come back at you and say, we love this, but we want more. Then send them your feature story. Then send them your highlight, your anything more extended. Only I've been told that people that are looking for talent, they know within the first 30 seconds of your reel whether they like you or not. You want them to like you. So make sure those first 30 seconds are important. Then put your next best stuff next, and then cut it off. Have them come back to you and ask for more. That's my best advice. Show your versatility, show your strengths, make sure you show your stuff, and then keep it tight. And then save your feature stories, your other stuff for either the end of the reel or just have it saved for when they come back to you.
That's excellent advice. And you've been through a couple different stops. So I'll ask for your tips for somebody that is looking in this industry when they're first starting out. You mentioned earlier that have that ability to do everything. But what topics, what areas do you try to balance as you decide where to apply, one, and two, what you're sending along and what you're looking for in those jobs?
Yeah, if you are specifically looking for local TV, which I hope I didn't scare anyone with everything that I said about it being a grind, it is so great for anybody that needs to get reps because you are on TV every single day. You are getting better every single day. You never stay the same. You're only getting better. You're getting worse. And I can honestly say in my 8 years of local sports, I have gotten better every single day. And I love this industry for that reason. But when you are going after one of those jobs, this industry is catered towards people that are versatile and can wear different hats. So show that in your reel, express that in your interview, or at least express your willingness to be okay with picking up a camera and shooting something. I can tell you this, if you have two different people, two different reporters going for the same job, but one person is willing to expresses in their interview, yeah, they're willing to pick up a camera or they have previous camera experience, and the other person maybe doesn't express that as much, they're going to pick the person that's showing them that is trying to sell themselves as a go-getter, as someone that is willing to do that extra effort and pick up that camera, put in that extra grind. Person will always get hired over the other. Now, again, it's like I said, this business is not glamorous. And so that's why stations that are hiring, they're going to prioritize those people that are going to work hard, that are going to give their everything they have. That's why you see a lot of former student athletes get hired, because having played college athletics like myself, like it's a different kind of grind, and those skills transition. If you show that you are willing to put in the work, there's a good chance that you're going to be at the top of the list.
When it comes to this field, you mentioned the knowledge that you have from having played sports, but it can be a daunting task to walk into a locker room. It can be a daunting task to talk to some of these athletes. How do you formulate questions that aren't just generic questions and are something a little bit different, particularly in those media scrums when could be 10, 15, 20 people there?
Yeah, I think twofold, right? Yes, you do have to ask good questions that aren't generic, but I would also say listen from the other reporters, listen to the other print writers. And sometimes you just got to go through those experiences, those big media scrums. They're not always, like you said, daunting is a great word to describe it, but the more you do them, the more you practice, like anything, they become less and less daunting. You can't be afraid to speak up. But I think the other part of that is don't be afraid to speak up. But when you do, make sure you're ready to bring it. Have a question that is precise. You have an angle in mind. Make sure your question is catered to that angle so you get the answer you want. Also, make sure you're listening around. If someone just asks the question you want to listen or you want to ask, you don't have to ask your question. Get something else. Don't waste people's time. Be smart, be diligent, and I think continue to learn. If you know a player is really hard to get answers from, okay, maybe kind of tee him up with a little bit of an easier question at first. Don't go attacking him right away. Don't ever attack anyone right away. I should say that. But my point is, learn from previous experiences in the locker room, what teams tend to have certain tendencies or feels and be a smart reporter. Just be smart and make sure you're always in there just to get your job done. You have to have that purpose. If you have that purpose and no one's questioning you, you'll be fine.
What advice do you give to the young women in sports right now?
Keep working hard. Keep working hard. Women have to work 10 times harder to get half as much. And I that was actually a quote from Trisha Yearwood, not even anyone in the sports world, the famous singer songwriter Trisha Yearwood. And I think it's so true in the sports industry. Women are going to be automatically judged differently because of us just being female, what we look like, and the instant lack of credibility. Meant if I say the same thing as my male counterpart, my viewers, any viewers across the country are going to automatically give him more credibility than me just because he's a male. I was told that early on, and I've taken that approach of, okay, fine, bring it on. I'm going to challenge myself to convince you that I know my stuff, that I work hard, and I do my homework. That's where the stats come in. That's where the cited sources come in. That's where I have to just work harder and be that more efficient than anyone else because I know I'm at a disadvantage. It's kind of like an underdog mentality, which I've experienced that before in sports. So I have embraced it. That would be my advice to young women starting out in the sports broadcasting industry. Embrace being a woman, embrace being an underdog, but let it fuel you in a positive way that challenges you to work twice as hard.
You talk about working hard. We haven't even mentioned some of the other things that you do. You do play-by-play, you do analyst work, and you just started Game Changers, a podcast.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I appreciate the plug, Michael. Yeah, Game Changers.
Of course. Why do the other things in freelance, besides potentially the easy answer of a little bit of extra money on the side, but why do those other things and develop that versatility?
Yeah. You know what? Money is actually not the easy answer for me. Because those freelance gigs, right now I'm at a point in my career where they're not paying a ton. Where, I wish they were. Otherwise, I'd go ahead and transition over full time. It's why do I do it? I do it because I'm at a point in my career where I need to separate myself, and I have done the sideline for ESPN Plus games. I've done a lot of on camera. I've reported at big sporting events, but where I have gotten to in local sports has not allowed me an opportunity to get to that next level. I want to get to network, and there are a lot of women on the sidelines, which is great. But now I need to separate myself for all the women going after those sideline jobs. And it occurred to me through experience and also numerous conversations that we need more women in the booth. We need more women calling games. We don't have nearly as many women calling games as we do reporting on the sideline. And so when I started my journey as a softball analyst, I loved it. But then I also loved a couple opportunities that I had to do play-by-play. And I realized, you know what, there's even fewer women that do play-by-play. And fortunately, I have loved it so much that now I'm trying to follow in that path because I do want to separate myself. That's the reason, is because let's say I do go after a team reporter job that is so great and that I've always dreamt of, right? But there's only 32 of them, no matter what sport you're looking at. And so how do I separate myself? Well, hey, not only can you throw me in the dugout for a dugout report hit, you can also throw me in the booth. I can hold my own in there. I can be a backup play-by-play. I would love to be able to market myself as more than just a reporter. That's why I'm doing the freelance. That's why I'm putting in extra work on the weekends, working on my off days to try to get those skills to separate myself, to give myself a better fighting chance at a network job.
Jill, this has been very insightful. Your work is not lost on all of us watching you from afar. We're excited to see what is next in your career. Thanks so much for the time and looking forward to following along on everything that you do.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for watching episode 5 of STAA's Next Level Sportscasting. Our guest today was Jill Jelnick.